The Khashoggi betrayal, widow's response, and the cost of strategic diplomacy. The public response by Hanan Elatr Khashoggi, the widow of murdered Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, following President Donald Trump's defense of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, highlights the deep moral conflict at the heart of the U.S.-Saudi relationship. Trump dismissed U.S. intelligence conclusions regarding MBS's role in the 2018 assassination, calling Khashoggi controversial and asserting that MBS knew nothing about it, prioritizing strategic and economic ties over accountability for a brutal human rights violation. Summary and analysis. Summary of the conflict. The issue centers on President Trump's strong public defense of MBS, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, during the Crown Prince's first visit to the White House since Khashoggi was dismembered inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Trump not only contradicted the U.S. intelligence assessment that MBS approved the operation, but also minimized the victim by calling him extremely controversial and suggesting things happen. Jamal Khashoggi's widow, Hanan Elatr Khashoggi, was profoundly disappointed and upset by Trump's remarks. She rejected the characterization of her husband, calling him a transparent man, a kind one, and argued that presenting him as controversial was a way of justifying the crime. Her core demands, a direct apology, compensation, and the return of her husband's remains for a proper burial, underscore the personal devastation that global politics often overlooks. Analysis of the diplomatic stance. Trump's stance is a clear example of prioritizing a transactional approach to foreign policy, where strategic and economic interests supersede human rights and democratic values. The warm welcome and defense of MBS were closely linked to Saudi promises of vast investments, up to $1 trillion in the U.S., major defense deals, including F-35 fighter jets, and cooperation on regional issues like the Abraham Accords and containing Iran. By giving the Crown Prince a clean chit, the U.S. administration signaled that the murder carried little to no diplomatic cost. This action severely damaged the credibility of U.S. human rights advocacy globally. Reasons and consequences. Reasons for Trump's defense. Geopolitical alignment. Saudi Arabia is a critical counterweight to Iran in the Middle East and a major partner in regional security, making the relationship strategically vital. Economic interests. The promise of massive Saudi investment in the U.S. economy and high-value arms deals was a central motivator for the relationship, which Trump heavily touted. Energy security. Maintaining a stable relationship with the world's largest oil exporter remains a core U.S. priority, despite the recent shifts in energy markets. Transactional mindset. The U.S. administration explicitly adopted a strategy of working with strongmen to advance concrete American interests, viewing human rights concerns as secondary. Consequences of the defense erosion of U.S. credibility. The defense of MBS, which contradicted U.S. intelligence, sends a signal to autocrats worldwide that the U.S. will overlook egregious human rights abuses if strategic or economic stakes are high enough. This undermines American soft power. Deepening victim trauma. For Khashoggi's family and victims of political oppression everywhere, the defense was a profound betrayal that minimizes their suffering and their quest for justice. Empowering MBS. The red carpet treatment successfully rehabilitated the Crown Prince's international standing, validating his rule and allowing him to deflect international pressure for accountability. Domestic political rift. The move angered members of Congress and human rights organizations, perpetuating a political division over U.S. foreign policy values versus interests. Prediction and solutions. Prediction. The Khashoggi murder will remain a permanent strain on U.S.-Saudi relations, regardless of the administration in power. While strategic cooperation on defense, energy, and counterterrorism is too entrenched to end, the relationship will be characterized by a continuing tension between executive branch pragmatism, prioritizing deals, and legislative branch pressure, demanding human rights accountability. Future administrations may treat MBS with more diplomatic distance, but will likely continue strategic engagement, acknowledging, as even the Biden administration did, that fundamental national security interests necessitate cooperation. Solutions for reconciling values and interests. Implement Magnitsky-style sanctions. The U.S. should continue to impose targeted sanctions, visa bans, asset freezes on all individuals implicated in the murder, regardless of their position, avoiding broader sanctions that would destabilize the kingdom. Strengthen congressional oversight. Congress must actively use its power to block arms sales or condition military and technological cooperation on measurable improvements in Saudi human rights practices and the rule of law. Establish a clear human rights floor. U.S. administrations should establish a floor of non-negotiable human rights issues, like press freedom and the prohibition of extraterritorial assassinations, below which diplomatic engagement cannot proceed at the highest level. Support independent journalism. The U.S. should substantially increase funding and diplomatic protection for organizations and journalists promoting freedom of the press and human rights in the Middle East, directly counterbalancing authoritarian influence.